Are you new to bass fishing, but you have a limited budget? In this three-part seminar I gave at the 2022 Western Washington Sportsman Show, I'm going to explain exactly how you can get into bass fishing on a budget. If you like our videos, make sure and give us a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon. That way when we have new videos come out, you'll be notified.
Okay, now we're getting, this is where I'm gonna help you, especially here in Western Washington, because this is where anglers get out of control. They go on this buying spree. You know, it's just one more. It's just one more. But when you add up all those just one mores over the course of a year, and you keep track of it, you're gonna go, oh, I have an addiction. I have a problem. Okay. So here we go. I get this phone call all the time. I just moved to Washington State. I grew up fishing bass. I was very avid in fishing for bass. I can't catch bass. I've got a bass boat. I can find them. I can't catch them. What colors are you throwing is my number one question. And their answer doesn't work in Washington, because they're fishing for the bait fish that they're used to finding in their southern waters, right? They have fish that bass feed on in the south and in the east we don't have. And so they don't understand, they didn't grow up here. They don't fish for trout, they don't fish for kokanee, they don't fish for perch, right? So they don't know about our bait. So you need to buy your lure color based on the bait that you have in your waters. So do a little research, find out what's in your water that you plan on fishing, right? That means, and I'll get a little more into the colors, you're gonna need some soft plastics, anything from your Senkos, some tubes, some drop shot baits. Could you get away with just some Senkos? And I'll show you a picture. Could you get away with Senkos and just some drop shot weights? Absolutely. Do you need tubes? No, no. But you can buy a pack or two of each and it's not gonna break your budget, okay? You need a crankbait. We have to have a way to search for fish, okay? You need a topwater popper, some type of popper. I'm gonna show you one and I'll talk about some variations. And you need a swim bait, okay? So your soft plastics are going to be, you found the bass, now you're slowing down to catch more. The crankbait, your topwater popper, and your swim bait, you're looking for fish, okay? You're looking for them. So let's jump into soft plastics. So Senko style, right? The Senko style, your tubes, your drop shot baits, crawdads. Here's your colors. Green pumpkin with black flake. What do you think we might be imitating with that color? Green pumpkin and black flake. Anybody? Not a frog. Crawdad. That's exactly right. It's amazing, but that's it. This is a go-to color. When I walk into the store and they've got that, I grab it. My shop looks like a tackle shop. Okay, colors to avoid. Blues, purples, reds. You don't need those colors. Why? We have very few lakes on the west side that have bluegill in them. We just don't have them. And for whatever reason, our fish aren't reacting super crazily to some of these other vibrant colors, right? Chartreuse, your browns, those work, okay? Lake Washington does have bluegill, but it's not a super dynamic population. It's not like the salmon fry that are swimming down into our lakes, right? Eventually trying to head to the saltwater. It's not like our kokanee, right? Think about those colors. So here's colors that you want to look at. Chartreuse, black flake. So both of these, as you can see, this is store brand stuff. 4¼ inches in length, okay? Don't buy the 5-inch. Get smaller, somewhere around 4, okay? Now, I will say this Strike King Rage Tail, I am not on Strike King's pro staff, and I pay full price for these, but those little craws are worth their weight in gold, okay? Worth their weight in gold. Green pumpkin, right? And what you can do is there is a product called Spike It. Now Spike It, 30 years ago, we had to buy a container and you take the lid off and you had to, you did this with precision, because if you spilt this on anything, it immediately dyed your boat carpet, your clothes, everything. So you're really careful with this stuff. You take it out and you dip your soft plastic in just a little bit. It would cause it that when it hit the water, it would change color, right? So then you can take a green pumpkin bait and put like a bright head on it, bright chartreuse head. And then you close it back up. Since then, they have also come out with a deactivator. So if you use Spike It, you always have the deactivator ready to put on your carpet or your clothes so it's not stained. Don't get it on your hands, because I'm not kidding, your hands will be green for 3 weeks. Okay, 3 weeks. Now Spike It also came out with pins. They're great. You can buy like a 5-pack and they've got all these different colors, and you can put a stripe on your soft plastic. When it hits the water, it creates just a different look to the bait. So Spike It, remember that. Okay, so green pumpkin, and there's a couple styles here. You know, these are a little more rib, that's a little more, still texture, but a little more smooth. Tubes, if you decide to get some tubes. A tube can imitate a crawdad, okay? Here are my tube colors, and I will admit I've got a couple colors on here that I would fish over on the east side, okay? But here are some tube colors, all short, right? Nothing longer than 3-inch, because you can get tubes and creature baits that are a lot longer, but keep them short, right? Over in this box over here, 4-inch lizards. I love Zoom lizards or Zoom product. I've been fishing Zoom for a long time. It's hard for me to break the habit of not buying Zoom, but they make great soft plastics. And so I love the 4-inch lizards. These little guys in the upper left and right in here, this top 4 compartments, those are baby brush hogs. This 4-inch Zoom lizard is so hard to find. I'll tell you right now, you're going to have to buy it online. You are not going to find it in a store around here because they're super popular, okay? Some of these baits that I have over to the right, these are like little dream shots, and those are for drop shotting. But I also drop shot these 4-inch lizards and the 4-inch baby brush hog. I just hook them right into the tip of the nose, okay? So I come from the back of the body forward so that the hook is oriented up. The hook tip comes right out of the nose of the bait, okay? Really easy to do. Must-have lures. So you've got your plastics. We just talked about your colors. Crankbait. Let's look at our colors. What are we representing here? Again, what kind of bait do you have? If I'm fishing a lake that does not have kokanee, I'm not gonna have the chrome bait, right? I'm not gonna fish it. I'm gonna fish my perch color. I'm gonna fish my crawdad color, right? Now, unfortunately, and again, self-control, you're on a budget, okay? Self-control. You need crankbaits that will fish varied depths, okay? That's gonna be somewhere between 2 to 12 feet. The deeper you go on a crankbait, the more they're going to cost. That's just the reality of things. So if you're gonna get one that say is gonna go 10 to 12 feet, just buy one. Now let's see how much you fish it, because in bass fishing, you'll buy a ton of stuff, and at the end of the year, you look in your box, you go, I didn't even use that, because all this other stuff was so effective, right? Okay, so we got our crankbaits. Let's jump on to our top water poppers. Now, when I say a top water popper, I'm not talking specific to this lure. What I'm talking about is a lure that is on top of the water, and it is designed when you, with a sharp motion of your wrist, move the rod and it goes bloop, and then it sits there. It creates a ring that comes out, and then it sits there. And then you hit it again, bloop. So that could be something like these Yellow Magics. They're $17 a piece. My clients do not fish them. They fish the Rapalas, right? They make excellent poppers, right? They're much more affordable. It might be that you're fishing a frog. Now, if you've watched anything about bass fishing, you've probably seen them throw frogs up in lily pads and they come across the top. Those are just kind of skitter popping across the top. They're not popping. They actually make frogs. You can, Booyah Baits has frogs, the type I'm talking about, but they also have them where they have a cupped mouth, and you can put them out in open water and pop it, and it bloop, makes that topwater sound with the nice rings that flow out, right? You need some type of topwater. And the reason for that is because our smallmouth bass, a lot of times, especially in the summer, not during the spawn, but in the summer and fall, in the morning, that's the time to throw a topwater, right? Not a crankbait, throw the topwater. So you've got to have that lure to fish the top. I have found that we have thrown a topwater at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and hooked fish. So some of the rules that you might read for bass fishing in the South don't necessarily apply up here, okay? Because down in the South, we go down there, we fish early morning, and I gotta tell you, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, you're done. It's too hot, right? Not only is it too hot for you, but it's too hot for the fish. And now they're going deep, they're hiding, they're finding cool water, places of shade and cover. But up here, our water temperatures don't get that hot, right? Yeah, we'll get in the 70s, but that's not really that warm to them. And we'll still see them cruising around, right? So we just keep on fishing. Great colors for topwater: the trout, the perch, the chrome, right? This is as close on the left as I could get to a trout pattern, but it works. I catch fish with it. Swim bait. Now, I'm gonna give you some options here on swim bait. This particular model here, if you've never seen it, it's a simple paddle tail, 3.5, 4 inches. I probably wouldn't be throwing the 5-inch versions. I mean, you can, the larger will be later in the summer, late summer, fall, but this has an underspin on it. And again, it's a search bait. As it goes through the water, the hook is in the up position, so it's pretty weedless unless you really get in the middle of some nasty stuff. But that's a great one. You know, this white color, it's imitating kokanee, right? So that works real well. So your colors in here, your green pumpkin, your trout, your perch colors, and also white. White's as close as you can get to the kokanee. Now here is another swim bait. It's called a chatterbait. Now, chatterbait is actually very specific to a lure brand, right? But if you went into, Outdoor Emporium and said, hey, I'm looking for a chatterbait, they're gonna go, oh, I know where to go. But if you went in there and said, hey, I'm looking for a bladed swim bait, they're gonna go, a what? But they'll recognize the name chatterbait, so they'll take you to the area that has them. And what this is it is a jig that without the blade, you normally would pitch it up under a dock or into some vegetation, and you'd fish it on the bottom and just kind of hop it around, right? They added this blade, and now you cast it out and you give it a retrieve. Might be slow, might be moderately fast, maybe you're really screaming it through the water, just depends. But it is another type of swim bait, and it is a searching bait. Then we've got good old standby, right? Normal jig hook, we're used to those, right? We tie pink on them and catch humpies. So on here, you've got a paddle tail, and then you've got your swim bait right up there. Now, here's the thing about those swim baits, you guys. Have some super glue. Super glue is pretty inexpensive. But you need that super glue because it will allow you to glue your swim baits to the head. Now at the end of the day, or if you need to take them off, you can. You pull it off and you can clean up that jig head, whether it's the undermount bladed swim jig or if it's a normal standard jig. But if you don't super glue it to the jig head, it's only going to take a couple times in the water and the bait's going to start tearing. And now you're losing your bait, right? And what I'm talking about is just a dab on the bait, stick it on the head, and it'll stay. When your bait starts to rip, it's not ripping up by the jig head. When the swim bait comes back off the jig head, it's starting to rip by the belly where the hook comes out of the bait, right? So that's where the super glue really comes into play. Any questions on your go-tos? So I'm telling you, and there's all sorts of tackle and all sorts of gear. If you just have these fundamentals in those very specific colors, you can absolutely go to any of these lakes. I don't care if it's a little pond or if you as long as you get yourself on the water and you get out, you go to Lake Washington, go to Lake Goodwin, go to Lake Whatcom, you are going to catch bass. You're going to catch fish. Are you going to catch as many as the guy that's in that bass boat? Probably not, right? Because his boat is his tackle box. But you can get into fish. You can get that rod to bend, right? And who knows? You might go out there and just have a phenomenal day. How many of you guys live up north? Some? Okay. Lake Kai. Lake Kai is loaded with bass. And it's also loaded with trout. So and crawfish. So you want to fish your crawfish colors, your trout colors. But it's loaded. If you can just get away from the bank and tool around the lake, you're going to find those fish. Okay, let's talk real quick about tackle organization. We're coming down toward the end. So there's all sorts of tackle boxes. Here's the fundamental problem with your traditional tackle box. You open it up, it's got all these compartments. Scent control. I had this conversation today with one of the reps who happens to be a bass angler. Scent is a problem. Oftentimes I'm wearing gloves to control my scent. I don't want my scent on my gear because fish smell parts per billion. So here's a little tip. Take a little bit of that crawfish spray that you have in your boat, right? Because you want to use scent on your soft plastics, and crawfish is the #1 go-to scent in Western Washington. Spray it on your hands. That way, if you're not wearing gloves, you have that scent on your hands, everything you touch, you're not putting your body smells, your amino acids, right, on that bait. This goes more so for the guys than it does for the ladies, because guys' palms tend to sweat more than women. It's just a fact, okay? But the reason soft-sided tackle is so good is because you can compartmentalize your baits, okay? Now, here's a tip for you. Has anybody gone out and looked, see how much those little plastic boxes cost? They're expensive, right? So, and they come in, you know, they got some that are waterproof, some that aren't, you know, whatever. They're still, it's money. So organize your hard baits, organize your hooks, organize your weights, organize your terminal tackle. But when you buy packages of soft plastics, whether it's Cincos, crawdads, lizards, you name it, curly tails, leave them in the package. They have great packaging, it's resealable. Leave it in the package, put it in your soft-sided tackle, right? You don't need a box for those. It'll save you room, right? Now, I have to tell you this. Bass fishing has gotten to a point that they have developed some things that it can be quite a surprise one day if you open up your tackle box. And what I'm talking about is elastine, okay? There are some Z-Man products that are made with elastine. So if you don't remember anything, remember this. Anytime you buy soft plastics that come from Z-Man, read the warning label on the back of the package. It contains elastane, and when mixed or stored with other soft plastics that are not made of elastane, they will melt. It's all over your boat. It's all over your container. It's all over your tackle box. It's bad. Okay? So, the great product, very durable. I mean, you want to talk about their worms and those soft plastics made with elastane take a beating and keep on going. They're phenomenal. They'll last you forever. But if you mix them with other soft plastics that do not have that, you're going to have a problem. So next time you're around in a tackle stop looking at some bass gear, just take a look at the Z-Man stuff, and it'll say made with Elastec or elastane. Read the back of the package and see what it says, right? We keep those stored in their own packages in a separate box even, so that that odor, that fume does not interact with our other soft plastics. So soft-sided tackle is the way to go, in my opinion. It's really important, keep odors contained. If you're putting scent on your hard baits, at the end of the day, just throw them in a plastic container, wash them off with Joy soap, just get them clean, dry them, put them back in your tackle box. Questions on that? No? That's surprising. Yes? No, just rinse it. Yeah. Joy is a good old standby. I wash all my stuff in Joy. Yeah, good old standby. So, Guy, yes, sir. Yeah, I get mine at Costco or Harbor Freight Tools. The ones at Harbor Freight Tools, the black nitrile gloves, those are more durable than the Kirkland gloves, okay?